It wasn't on any map. It wasn't in any survey records. But one man saw that door closed in the cold, slippery rock. And 3 weeks later, the entire village he'd lived in vanished from all historical records. Daniel Weber posted it on an obscure geology forum at 3:12 a.m. on April 9th. The image was simple: a sheer cliff face in the Austrian Alps, the rock pale and weathered. But embedded near the center, half buried in snow and shale, was a perfect rectangled dark metal, framed in a material no one could identify. There was no caption, just a single line of text. Found this north of Obersalzberg. 4739 14.9 N 1302.4 E. It wasn't there last year. Most users ignored it. Some thought it was a hoax Photoshop, maybe a prank. One user joked, "You found a level loader from a game." But 3 replies stood out. First, this structure was sealed under Treaty E-75. You shouldn't be there. The second, delete this. They listened for these coordinates. And the third, just a cryptic string of numbers. 0100111. Daniel replied to none. 2 hours later, the post was removed. Not by a moderator. Not by the site admin. The server logs showed no deletion record. And Daniel, his account vanished. Along with every post he had ever made. Along with him. Not long after, someone tried to visit the location. A hiker named Julian Mathis live-streamed his approach to the coordinates. But once he got within 3 kilometers, the signal died. His last transmission was audio only. This wind, it's not. Right, it sounds like it's talking. But the mouth's underground. He hasn't been seen since. Local authorities mounted a search party. They found no gear, no footprints. But they did find an unusual indentation in the cliff wall, a smooth vertical line, about the height of a person. The stone surrounding it was slightly warm. Geological scans revealed nothing. No cavern. No tunnel. Just granite. Solid. Untouched. Until now. 10 days after the disappearance of Julian Mathis, a parcel arrived at the office of the Geophysical Survey Department in Vienna. It bore no return address, no postage, just a white sticker with the phrase, "For evaluation, do not digitize." Inside were 3 items: a fragment of cold gray metal, a roll of undeveloped 35mm film, and a folded, handwritten letter dated 1897. The letter, though old and brittle, was freshly creased, as if it had just been folded that morning. It's a signature at the bottom: Professor Edgar Lautenschläger, a name unknown to any registry. But according to the handwriting analysis, the ink matched a series of field journals written by an Austrian cartographer who vanished without trace while mapping unexplored caves in 1898. The content of the letter was worse. We closed it. Closed it as best we could, but it was not built by men. We took nothing from it, only echoes. And still, the echoes followed. Tell the next one. If it speaks your name, do not answer. The film, when developed in secret, revealed 4 images: a grainy shot of the cliff face with a faint metallic seam, a silhouette standing too close, face blurred. A spiraled marking burned into the snow, and the final image: a black void, taken inside the door, though no expedition had ever entered it. The metal fragment was tested by materials scientists. It was smooth, perfectly symmetrical under microscope, and completely non-ferromagnetic. It matched no known alloy, but what made one scientist resign immediately was what was written on its underside. April 9th, 2025. A date 1 week into the future. That same night, the Vienna server room suffered a catastrophic data loss. The files, letter scans, metal analysis, film photos all corrupted. Every backup, gone. Even stranger, the internal motion sensors picked up no intruder, only a temperature drop, down to -12 degrees Celsius. In summer, when the technician reviewed the security footage, he found something else. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the same time Daniel Weber made his original post, the lights dimmed. And for 2 frames, someone was visible in the hallway. No face, just a figure blurred as if vibrating between frames. Standing still, listening. That's when they began to hear the tapping. From inside the cliff, always rhythmic. Always 3 beats, and always following the same message pattern. Let me in. You called me. The room was not supposed to exist. On the blueprints of Building 4, there was no listing between the north stairwell and the old surgery theater. But the janitor, Ruben Martel, found it while replacing ceiling panels. He stepped down from the ladder, turned left toward the maintenance closet and saw a rusted door where there had never been one. It bore no signage, no lock, just a smooth steel surface, stained with a single long smear, dark and dried, like aged varnish. Ruben, whose hands had once reset shattered collarbones in war zones, hesitated for a full minute before he pushed it open. Not disused, not old, but pristine. The kind of room staged in glossy pharmaceutical ads, bed made tightly, monitor blinking, oxygen stand gleaming. The light flickered, a steady fluorescent hum. But the strangest part wasn't the sterile perfection. It was the patient. A girl, maybe 15, pale, breathing slowly, hooked up to nothing, just lying there, unmoving, hands folded over her chest like she had fallen asleep mid-prayer. Ruben called out, no answer. He backed out, closed the door. And wisely, or foolishly, he returned moments later with a coworker. The door was gone. In its place, uninterrupted concrete wall, smoothed and painted decades ago. Ruben submitted a report, maintenance log number 991B, but the log disappeared. Weeks later he vanished, not laid off, not dead. Just never referenced again. No photos and staff files, no forwarding address. The only evidence he existed was a voicemail his daughter received. At 3:11 a.m., 10 seconds of whispering breath, followed by a hospital monitor's flatline. The janitor's ladder, however, remained exactly where he left it. Ane received the report via a retired nurse who followed her uploads. The nurse claimed the story was familiar. In 1974, she'd seen a photo of that same girl in a staff orientation binder. At a psychiatric hospital in Nice, no name, just subject M3. When she later asked a senior doctor about it, he went pale and told her never to mention the file again. A week later, the wing where the photo had been stored burned down. No electrical cause. The nurse never worked in medicine again. And A had a theory. Not about ghosts, not memory echoes, but memory convergence. What if certain places acted like receptors in a brain? And sometimes, just sometimes, when the environment remembered hard enough, the forgotten returned. Not people, not spirits, but rooms, objects, sounds, layouts from another version of the world that bled through into this one when no one was looking. The hospital had forgotten the room, but the building hadn't, and the girl subject M3 was part of a memory architecture looping just beneath what we call reality. And I wrote this down in her private notebook. Some places are the scars of things that happened in a version of the world we no longer agree to remember. What she didn't write but suspected was that she was standing in one, and that the building wasn't done remembering her. 2 days after Ania recorded her final thoughts, she returned to the building, not to chase ghosts, not to investigate, because of a sound. A voicemail on her landline. It was 3 tones. Soft, flat, low, then static. When she played it in a spectrogram viewer, the waveform resembled a floor plan. Crude but unmistakable. A rectangular outline, intersected by a hallway. And a dot blinking in a place that should not exist. She followed the signal to Building 4 just after dusk. No one knew she was there. She moved through the abandoned east corridor, scanning the walls, counting the paces, and then stopped. Her flashlight flickered. The hallway bent slightly to the left. And there it was again. The door, but this time it was open. She stepped inside. It was not the same pristine hospital room. This one was decayed. Worn, the bed torn open, monitor cracked, tiles yellowed with time. It looked as though it had been there for decades. In the corner sat a tape recorder. Old, reels unmoving, but still warm. Next to it, a stack of drawings, pencil sketches of the girl. All the same face, all from different angles. All signed with different initials. One R, Martel, another E, Lautenschlager, and the last. Abene blinked. Those weren't just initials. They were people the building had forgotten. People who had vanished. People whose memory had become. She reached toward the tape recorder and pressed play. No voice. Only the sound of a hospital monitor. Then a tone. One she had heard before. The exact same three-note pattern. But this time, it didn't end in static. A voice distorted, layered emerged. Not through the recorder, but through the room itself, reverberating off the walls. You've been here before. You drew the door. You brought us back. The tiles cracked beneath her feet. The air thickened, like breathing through glass. She tried to move, but her legs refused. The bed frame pulsed once like a heartbeat. The monitor flashed a single phrase. Subject M3. Reintegration complete. Then the door slammed shut. 3 days later, a maintenance worker passed through the east corridor, found nothing out of place, except a drawing, pinned to the wall. Pencil on scrap paper. Faint, almost erased. A sketch of the corridor accurate down to the cracks, and a tiny figure drawn in the corner, waving. On the bottom, written in shaky script, rooms don't forget, they wait. Beside that, a name. A-N-A. B.